Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Super Soldier Talk. My name is James Rink, as it always is here on the show. So today we have a very special guest. Lucas is joining, or I guess we'll call him. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Lucas.
you can call me. You can call me Lucas. You can call me Luke.
Okay.
Lucas is Creighton is the name of one of my altars.
Okay. Creighton.
Yeah, Creighton. I think.
Okay, you're a secret space program super soldier and a bunch more. So Lucas was a Pleiadian starseed, or is. He's also the ambassador. What ambassador of who?
Pleiadian ambassador.
Okay.
It's just one of the things they were trying to tell me.
All right. And an Earth researcher. He's mostly getting recalls via dreams and meditation. He's also been working with those in the super soldier community to help uncover his memories. So he has a laundry list of altars that includes the ICC, which is Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, IDARF, which is Interplanetary Defense. Oh my gosh. Do you know what it all?
Oh shoot, IDARF.
You didn't get it
I don't know what
either.
the R is.
Okay. What's the R?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Forces. F is for forces. So that's a cabal.
It's
So what
one of
happened?
them.
Yeah. So what happened in the 1990s? The Germans moved out of their 100-acre area of Lunar Operations Command and let the cabal take it over because they moved somewhere else. So they've been spreading. Yeah, anyway. So also Umbrella Corporation, Nacht Waffen, which is the Dark Fleet, Solar Warden, Shaw House, Monarch, and many other terrestrial intelligence programs. He has an alter who has transferred to the USS Franklin. What does USS stand for?
I'm
United
sorry.
States Solar.
I can't recall.
No.
I'm sorry. I just
Okay.
had it in my notes. But
Maybe
I was
Solar
on.
Warden.
Yeah, basically, I was transferred to the Franklin under Commander Fritz as one of my altars.
Okay, but that's not Johann Fritz.
Yeah, it is Johann Fritz.
Oh.
So I talked to Will and Jody. Like I said, been talking to the community. I talked to Will and Jody. Well, actually, so to back up, I started talking to Kimberly Busana, right? So I was talking to her, and she's like, "Oh, you've got an altar with Johann Fritz. You should go talk to him." And so then I ended up going to talk to him, and he ended up concluding the same thing, right? So he gave me a whole list of like, oh, you were in Kruger from this year to that year. You then transferred to Dark Shield, then you're on this ship, and then eventually you were on the Franklin with him. Yeah, so I do have a little bit of overlap with him. I'm not exactly sure like how the timeline works, just because his timeline is so different from what we're experiencing now, but we do have some overlap,
All right. We'll go into that just a bit. He also has a soul incarnation who sits upon the Orion Council, another alternate timeline where Atlantis never fell and the reptilians aren't so terrible. So wasn't the Orion Wars the reason why things are so messed up here in the system?
I can't specify to exactly why this whole system messed up, but the basics of it is that I have a reptilian soul incarnation that sits upon the Orion Council, and I was talking to Kimberly, and I was like, isn't that kind of like a big deal because you see channelings of like the Arcturian Council and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. So, and that felt appropriate to include.
All right. Okay, let's go to, I guess we have a PowerPoint presentation here. So let's pull this up here. We can start off.
Yeah, I made a little bit of PowerPoint to, clarify what I wanted to get through here with just, to keep me on track and all that good stuff.
Okay. How do I view this?
Slideshow is top right there.
Slide top.
Yeah, right there.
Okay. Can you see it, everybody? Lucas?
I can see it. I'm good.
Okay. All right. We got our goals.
Yeah. So here, just click through. I wanted to share. Oh, sorry. That's the bio. Keep going. The next one. I just wanted to share some stuff as far as like, what my goals are coming on Super Soldier Talk. Ultimately, I'd love to hear from anyone who thinks they've seen me out there in the Space Force. I wanted to connect with you, James, because I've gotten to talk to Kimberly. I've gotten to talk to Johan, you know, and I've really enjoyed just like talking to people and talking about all this stuff. I also had a few things that I felt are important enough to share. So in addition to just sort of my super soldier experiences, I also wanted to share like what awoke me to all this stuff. And within that is like I'm getting telepathic contact from the Pleiadians. So I'm a level 4 informationer, telepath, you know, so I have the ability to talk to people who are way far away, and that includes some of my galactic family. So if I don't specifically cite Kimberly or Johan, you know, that's whom I'm citing is my Pleiadian contacts.
All right, good. Let's go on here. Ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, angelic healing codes. So tell us a little bit more about this.
So could you go 2 slides forward for me, please? So this was one of the things that I was thinking that we could share together would be the most beneficial. If you click into that link, what I've been told about these is that they are angelic healing codes. Oh, sorry, I'll just...
Go ahead.
So this was picked up by a ham radio broadcast, I think in the middle of the country. And what we were getting from that was that this is actually Archangel Uriel sharing some healing codes with us all. And I figured of any community that could use this one, it would be, or use this angelic healing, it would be the super soldier community, of course. It's not particularly exciting, but I'd recommend just anyone listening, just like put in some headphones and listen to it for a bit and see how you feel internally.
Do you want us to like listen to like a 10-second clip of this?
Yeah, sure. It is 5 minutes long, so maybe we won't do it live, but my hope was to share this with the rest of the community and tell you why it's important.
So that's yes. You want me to play it for like 10 seconds?
Yeah, let's play it 10 seconds.
Members, that'd be great. You probably want to hear it. Let's go. Where should I go?
It's kind of weird. It's not it's light codes. You know, it's not.
Sure. All right, we'll do right here.
So let's just do right there then.
4, 5, 6 Foxtrot, 6 Echo, 67, 69, 74, 75, 64, 65, 20, 4 Echo.
Okay, who's talking there in the background?
Yeah, supposedly that is Archangel Uriel. And this came out around in December. So this is a part of a slew of just like sort of divine gifts that were given this December. So I'd recommend everyone go listen to it. But yeah, maybe sitting around for 5 minutes would not be the most entertaining for everyone.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll put that in the video link description. I can also do this. Let me do this real quick.
Yeah, why don't you share it with the chat for funsies?
Let's see if
I'd appreciate that.
I know, guys. Okay, let's go back. We're here. We've got.
Yep. For me, I felt it in my like shoulder and heart, and I was trying to wake up like my wing chakras and all that stuff. So let's go past that slide. After that, I talked about our James dream. So this is kind of the conversation that got me and James started talking together. So I had a dream of James on 3/23. To me, this dream, it was kind of weird. What I understood is I was sharing my testimony with James, which I thought was rather interesting. And now we're here.
Wait, can what's James who?
This is you, James Rank.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this was back in last March.
Yes, this was last March. So.
All right.
Yeah. So I was dreaming of you.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. You've appeared in my dreams. I've also had a few other people appear in my dreams as well. I've seen Daryl. I've seen Will. I have referenced Kimberly, but I've never actually seen her. But there does seem to be something weird in my dreams relating to the Witchblade that she talks about sometimes, but I can't quite.
Yeah, that's Project Witchblade.
Yeah. So I ended up seeing the girl from Project Witchblade in my dreams. or at least the TV show that's out there. I swear there used to be a movie about Witchblade, and I can't find it anymore. You know,
wow.
been swapping through so many timelines that things get weird. But anyway, back to the James dream. So James, I saw you in my dreams, right? And so we emailed a little bit and we talked about this. You were thinking that it had something to do with you were training some Cabal kid in soccer. From my perspective, this dream was like I was in a field. It was a soccer pitch. It was a few guys there. One person I know in real life, and a few other men that I couldn't place, couldn't remember. And we were either kicking a soccer ball around or throwing a frisbee. What the audio from this dream was me relaying my testimony to you, James. And this dream happened on 323. And like I was telling you before we hopped on the live stream here, 323 was one of the first transits of Pluto out of Capricorn into Aquarius. And this was put together by Kimberly, so I thought that was rather interesting. And now it has transited again for, I think it was January 20th, back into Aquarius, and it will be there for another 20 years or so. So that's what.
Wait, hold on a second. So what does that mark? A move into the airy Aquarius.
Yes.
So what does this mean for our planet?
I think Pluto was the last celestial body in the solar system to move into Aquarius. And my hope is that we're going to start to see some significant change. So I think the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was around the American Revolution. So when you see big movements like that, or at least, so Pluto moves super slow because it's so far out there, right? But when it does move into a sign, it can significantly change the energy of the history, like the Great Revolution of, the Great American Revolution, also the French Revolution. Who knows how much of that was influenced by Freemasons, but, I like to think it's all divinely timed anyways, regardless of their evil machinations.
I have a lot to share about that, but let's,
Yeah. I've listened to a lot of your interviews, and you have a lot of the Pacers and the
Saint Germain. The Pleiadian secret society was created in opposition of the Illuminati secret society in 1784. But that was the Wellsambad convention. Anyway, the Freemasons. Okay.
We've been there before. We'll be there again. Hopefully this time it'll be for good.
Right, and we're having conflict right now on the border of Texas with the governors standing off with the security, the border security. So it's we're kind of teetering at that again, but we're going to put out attention. Everything's going to be fine, I hope.
Yeah, I try not to worry too much about all that. I think it's all an illusion. You don't want to get into the vibration of fear. I find that meditation and keeping myself centered and grounded is very important for getting on the right timeline. Haven't seen a significant change in the outside yet, but just doing my best to make sure I end up in the right spot.
All right, so let's hear. So we're kicking around this soccer ball. By the way, Lucas, how old do we look like we are?
So I saw it that we were in our IRL bodies, but sometimes those things are overlay, which we'll get a little bit further into, because I stand about 6'2" in real life, and I think you're a little shorter, right? So to me, my perspective was, my IRL to your IRL, which I don't think is, given the context of the other stuff, I don't think it's necessarily true. I think it's kind of an overlay as far as that goes, or a screen cap. So I think we can go to the next slide.
All right, but you said you're going to tell James of your testimony. Oh, so that's what we got to do next slide. Okay.
Yeah, so this was it's kind of so here's the note I had in my phone just to prove that it exists. It's a screenshot, so anyone can fake a screenshot. But anyway, I covered up that other thing because we'll get to that later. So let's go to the next slide if you could. So I asked Kimberly about this dream, and her take is that you and I spent some time together in Alaska in that no-see timeline. the no-see alternative timeline where Japan and
the Germans
the Germans
took over America on the East Coast. The American Reich.
Yeah, so her take was that like we were spending time up in Alaska, and apparently like when we had downtime, we would just play games together. They'd always keep us playing sport together, having a great time. That was her take on the dream. I thought it was accurate enough that it felt right to me, because like you can't really verify these things. It's like I can't go to the alternate timeline to go see it. So that's why I kind of say that it felt a little bit like an overlay, as far as just like what was going on there. But at the very least, like some of these dreams serve multiple purposes, because like it happened on 323, which is the transit of Aquarius. Now we're here. I'm sharing my testimony with you, and we're like fully into Aquarius now. So like, I don't know. I just think it's so interesting as far as like just sort of how just everything works up, and I also thought it was interesting because what was it, last week your one guest was saying that the ambassadors are going to start coming out, and I've been talking to my Pleiadians and they're like, yeah, you're an ambassador, like put that in the bio, and here we are 1 week,
Right.
Not even a week later, a few days later, someone claiming to be an ambassador. So I just thought, I don't know, it all feels so divinely timed in a sense.
Nice. So what I remember about it, so it's an Abatava. Lucas, does that name ring a bell to you?
I'm sorry, it doesn't. I'm so like, despite all the dreams, the mind control stuff works pretty effectively on me.
Okay.
So like I've only had like, it's mostly dreams, it's some meditation, and it's talking to a lot of people, as many people as I can, about all this nonsense. But that specific location does not ring a bell.
Okay, so an Abatava is a Native American word for a super soldier training camp.
Okay.
So I see myself on these snowmobiles. James Casbolt's there. We have Max Spears is there, and we're all out where we look like we're like 14 or 15 years old, and we're doing like weapons training, or we're on the snowmobile. We're out doing like skirmishes out in the bush, where we're basically, they just keep us busy all the time, and we don't even need to do all this, but they just so essentially from there, it looks like they wipe all their memories and then send them off to other projects or programs. So yeah, that particular altar, Kimberly and we were doing a session on it, and she was tapping into it, and I was talking to my 15-year-old self over there, and he told me that he wanted to go to Virginia Beach in that timeline because it was a big surfing, I guess, German surfing community. And I asked him if he likes hip hop music, and he told me he doesn't know what he doesn't understand what that is. So apparently, in the American Reich, the black culture never really evolved into, like soul music. We never really got it because. But anyways, it's a long story.
Yeah, it didn't have such an effect on the cultural zeitgeist. Yeah, so she was just saying that in addition to all the other training stuff to keep us busy, like we'd play sports if we had nothing better to do.
Interesting. I had a dream one time that I was maybe like 16. This must be through Montauk or something, but I was 16 years old and I was training this. It seemed like an Islamic billionaire's son. Like I was living in the house, training him to how to play soccer. But yeah, but anyway,
so we talked a little bit about that, but like to me, I didn't resonate with that dream as much, or at least I don't think I was a billionaire's son at any point.
Yeah, but Lucas, I asked how old you might think we were because I wanted to see, did we look like we were like teenagers or early 20s?
All right. Like so in the dream that I had, I couldn't, I probably appeared as myself as I do now, and you were, maybe a few years ago, right? Yeah. So like, it felt like an overlay in that sense where it's like, it felt like just what my brain was getting from this timeline. Maybe they put a cap on it just so that I couldn't quite discern, couldn't get all those normal details, but it's like, it is what it is.
All right. So I guess last message here, people in Alaska, be prepared to learn Russian soon.
Oh, did you see that hit the news recently?
What,
Putin was
they want Alaska
saying,
back?
yeah, Putin was saying they want Alaska back. So it's funny just to, it's funny to see these things start to bleed into the mainstream. You know.
All right, so we got a Aquarius stream.
So this is the second part of the other Aquarius stream that I had on the 23rd. So I wanted to bring this up just because I feel energetically connected to Daryl in a way. I don't really know how. Maybe we know each other on another plane of existence. I kept asking Kimberly about Daryl, and she's like, "I don't see you guys interacting." Because
Wait, can you, Lucas? Can you pause for a moment? When you say
Sure,
Daryl,
so
are we referring to Daryl James?
we're talking about Daryl James. Sorry,
Daryl. Okay.
Yeah, that Daryl. So Daryl James. So the reason why I feel so energetically connected to him because he was the first testimony on your channel that like really resonated with me. You know, he was my introduction to your content. After which I listened to a significant amount of it. Let's see. In this dream, what I remember in this dream was like we were in a yellow like VW bug, right? But this bug was simultaneously a car and a plane, right? So to me, I'm like, well, that's not real, right? So my interpretation of that is it's third-person saucer craft is my guess as far as that goes. In this dream, Daryl was telling me he integrated all of his altars, and I was happy for it. Right, that was about all I had for it. But I thought it was also interesting that both you and Daryl appeared in the same night on the 23rd in the big Aquarius energy. So I don't know if I got to interact with him in the programs, but I think I know him on some level of existence. You know, I think at one point he testified that the reason why the Pleiadians liked him so much, in addition to like being able to talk to the children, was also that he was like an empathetic reptilian soul, which is rather rare. Like, so maybe we sit together on the Orion Council because I've got a reptilian soul over there. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that we spent any time together in the programs, but I feel like I know him on some level, or at least he was a part of my like soul plan to like wake me up to all this nonsense, you know. So that's about what I have to say about that.
Nice. Are you aware of something called the Orion Club organization?
The Orion Club. I'm not familiar. Could you jog my memory?
I was hoping you would know, but I'm a reptilian. Came up and it was through a friend. He was channeling this. The whole story about it's all kind of a whole backstory. But Tian was his name, and Tian told me that I was part of the Orion Club organization. Tian's a 14-foot tall reptilian from Diaries, 1469, something like that. But
okay,
yeah. Well, anyway, it's a long story, but I'll tell you what. Yeah.
Here's a question, James. That's not a bad idea, right? So here's a question for you. Do you have the Orion constellation on either your forearms? In like moles?
I do have something like that, but I've never really thought of them that way. That's interesting.
Yeah, isn't it, right? So I also have the Orion constellation on my right forearm. And at one point, a part of my awakening journey, as I have later in this presentation, I got to talk to a very skilled astral projector. Like, she was astral projecting, and one of the questions they asked her, I think it was her. One of the questions they asked her was like, "I'm constantly seeing grays, like all the time," and she's like, "Well, you probably bear their mark." And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, they like mark people. They mark people that either they find interesting or have Orion energy. It wasn't exactly clear, but then I was like, is this a mark of Orion? And she was like, yeah, that's a mark of Orion. So I think my understanding of it is that when souls go through the moon in the soul trap or whatever, they're marked by the Orions as interesting souls for their programs, you know, whether it's Project Surrogate on any of the SSP stuff, you know, just like that sort of stuff. I do believe that they mark us in our moles, and that has some sort of etheric energetic signature. But I can't, it's all speculation. right?
Good. All right. Thank you so much for that, Lucas. Let's go on here.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about just sort of my connection to the Pleiades. From what I understand, I'm from Halcyon. I'm a Pleiadian ambassador. When I reference people from the Pleiades, I'm talking to both my twin flame and my Pleiadian family. Some of the details are that they're on a ship called the Alcadeus. I've talked to the Pleiadian commanders Hatan and Hakan. I think you have a pretty old video around 2020 where Kimberly channeled Hatan.
Yeah, YouTube purged it for medical misinformation.
Yeah, well, we all know why that is.
It's on Rumble, everybody, so go check it out.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting interview, which I actually think is pretty relevant because in that he says that they're holding the energetics of the planet in place so that the pole shift doesn't happen, which I think it's very relevant to my next slide. Other information on here is like, I think I know Daryl, some of my abilities, level 4 information or made it through Lixodot and training, all that sort of good stuff. The picture of the girl, Ava Vardenbuck or something. So I've got this thing going on with me is that I'm trained in psychometry, I think it's called, which is the ability to get in tune with the vibration of pictures. And so my twin flame just like pings me on people who either have big Pleiadian energy or look kind of like her, and that's someone who looks like it. She has big Pleiadian energy, basically, which is fun. So let's head on to the next slide, unless you want to have any comments there. Sorry.
Also, you're a navigator, you're an informationer. So informationer is someone who's attached to, say, a super soldier in the battlefield. So you would transmit data telepathically as a telepath.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I brought that on because I'm skilled at basically communicating telepathically across distance, right? So that's why that's important. Right. So I was asking my Pleiadian contacts, I'm like, what do you guys want me to talk about? And as I was like, so as far as like when these kinds of things happen for me, it's often either in deep meditation in a state akin to sleep, right? Or it is coming out of sleep, right? So one morning I asked the Pleiadians, I'm like, what do you want me to tell James and the super shoulder community? And they wanted to tell me that the solar flash has begun. So it's been a slow process. I think it started like way back into September of 2022. So it's been going for a little bit. Right. But some of the more important events that we've had recently in December is that there was a huge M9, like Earth directed solar flare that hit it was launched on 11/29 and hit on December 2nd. And that photo of the next slide is what it looked like that day.
Wow.
Right.
So solar flash has begun should bring higher and higher light codes online. This process will be slow. It's activating latent powers and memories are not out of the question. Solar maximum previously was estimated to be 2025, may peak to 2024, depending on a lot of factors. So what is a solar maximum?
So the solar maximum is the increased amount of solar activity. So that is solar flares, that's sunspots, that's coronal holes, that is just like energetics. We also had another solar event today that had a significant amount of that had it spiked in what was it? It was like energetic electrons. We're in the middle of an R2 and S2 moderate solar storm right now. It was a long duration M-class flare, and we are over the warning thresholds for just sort of like latent proton activity. So like basically all this is to say higher and higher light codes are being delivered to all of our humans on Earth right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is affecting not just us in the SSP community, but everybody on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
These, I guess you call it ascension symptoms.
Yes. Yep. These are very much associated with ascension symptoms, headaches, weird. For me, I get a lot of strange muscle spasms. I've been feeling significantly better probably since about the middle of December. You know, like it's still rough. You know, I woke up this morning, had the worst headache. You know, but that might have been someone picking me up overnight. You never know. But the main details I wanted to get over, you know, as far as December goes, we had an M9 right at the end of November, and it had an Earth-directed CME on December 2nd. There's an X2 solar flash or solar flare on December 14th that it hit an Earth enough to like do a thing. And like, here's the one that I think is just the coolest. There was an X5 class solar flare on December 31st. That's like the biggest solar flare we've had in years. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And it just so happens that it's the very last day of 2023. I mean, it's not coincidence. It's divine timing. It's here.
That's what we're looking at, this picture over here.
Yeah, so that's the picture of the X5. It was pretty. X5 is pretty significant. So like as far as the solar maximum goes, you know, it's like I think, well, I'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it was like the biggest one over the last maybe 20 years or so. It's huge, right? So one of the good people to follow as far as this goes is Suspicious Observers. My only issue with him is that he's concerned that all of this is going to lead to a pole shift, which is why it's important that it's like, well, they're holding the energetics in place so that we're not going to have a pole shift, and by the time we do, we'll be so much better that we can totally deal with it. You know, it's really it's really nothing to worry about. It's actually good.
So how would a solar flare affect the I guess the magnetic poles, the Earth's core?
Yeah, so if it were left to its own devices, the pole shift would have happened by now, and a pole shift is it's an apocalypse level event basically. I think it happens like at times at like the fall of Atlantis and stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure if that's what happened there, but I think it has something to do with the polarity of the planet, whether it's service to self or service to others kind of deal. And if that polarity, if the energetics switch, it would be a transition away from the service to self towards the service to others kind of deal. That's my vague understanding of it. You don't really want a pole shift, but we've got plenty of forces in place that are keeping the energetic stable that we don't really need to worry about it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's just pop out of here. I want to check the chat. Does anybody have any questions, or do we have comments? Thanks, Susan, for the feedback. Good vibes. Thank you very much. Chad says he's been sick.
Yeah.
So the Ascension symptoms. Let's see here. We have resonate with my reptilian warrior aspect. Thank you. All right. Let's go on here. Okay.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, so my recommendations for like dealing with Ascension symptoms are making sure you get grounded, like both bare feet touching the ground. I no longer wear contacts. I now wear glasses so that I can get unfiltered sunlight to the eyes. Those things I've been told can help lessen the Ascension symptoms.
Thank you.
Go ahead, James.
So we have Pleiadian source message, solar flash, and this is from Jenny Lee. The solar flash will be more like a mist. Explain what's going on here.
Yeah, so I apologize that I couldn't find the video in specific, but I do remember listening to a Jenny Lee, one of your interviews with Jenny Lee, and at some point, you guys were discussing the solar flash, and like a lot of people think that the solar flash is just gonna be like one huge burst, and we're just all of a sudden gonna remember everything. We're all of a sudden gonna have our powers and whatnot. Excuse me, I'm dropping my pen. But they were telling Jenny Lee that the solar flash is going to be more like a mist. So this is a picture from I take my dog on a walk every day as much as I can, right? So this is a picture, I think it was December 2nd, was the impact from the M98 solar flare. So when the energetics get really rough, this is what you're looking at. This mist also happened. We had a significant amount of mist on last Friday. I was traveling up to visit my parents, and there was a lot of mist then as well. So when you see big fog like this, chances are a few days ago there was a huge CME and the energetics are all over the place. So I just thought that this was an interesting connection with all of my Solar Flash talk and one of your other guests.
And,
I don't want to put too many words in her mouth, but that's just my understanding of it.
So supposedly, let's see here, from the HDR users forum, it's been documented that it appears when a portal opens up, a fog appears. So that's also a sign to,
Yeah,
okay.
which is probably just like your other stuff. So I was also asking the Pleiadians if I could get a message from your twin flame.
Yeah, Simone. So she is the sister of Semyace.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I couldn't quite remember who was who. But I remember you, like in my waking state, I remember both of you mentioning those two. So this is from Simone, and what she was trying to tell me was a lot of your soul contracts are going to come due. This will be a great boon for you. More memories, more powers, healing like you've never received before, and what you've been waiting for. So I hope that's correct. I think it's very exciting where we're at and just sort of where we're headed energetically.
Oh wow, yeah. So she's the good positive sister, but yeah, I don't want to say anything bad about Semyace. She's strong person too, but I better be quiet before. Okay.
Yeah, I apologize. I couldn't remember who was who. I was pretty sure it was Simone, but I also remember you talking about Semyace. Anyway, so that's just a little short thing from the Pleiadians to talk about us today.
Right. Interesting. Thank you so much for that. Okay.
No problem.
So, my awakening.
Yeah. So I wanted to just sort of go over what it might look like if you don't have just like a gate of super soldier memories awakening. So I wanted to go through what my awakening looked like and how others might be able to relate to that.
Oh wow. Okay.
If that's all right, if you want to do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Sorry, I got this thing. Susan, I love you, but yeah, okay.
There we go.
I didn't even know that was on. Go. Oh, is my camera frozen?
Maybe. I haven't seen you move in a bit, but I hear you just fine.
Okay, we'll fix that. Go ahead, just keep talking.
Yeah, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about my awakening and maybe some resources for other people that they might enjoy. Honestly, a lot of this stuff started post 2020, just with the COOF lockdowns and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, I believe that it was an opportunity and a wake-up call for the collective of humanity to just sort of slow down and wake up. And I definitely felt that the veil started to thin in 2020 was basically what I started to feel, and I've changed a lot over then. And, we ended up here for better or for worse. It just feels so funny because you're like, I used to be normal. But it's fine. It's everyone is exactly where they need to be at the right stage of awakening for whatever divine plan is about to unfold. So if you could head to the next slide, James. Still with me? There we go. So my first awakening experience, I saw the Pleiades in a dream. I didn't know what it was at the time, to be perfectly honest. I just saw that photo of these stars, and I was like, okay. And then I saw a doorway of white light, and I had a female voice telling me to step through the doorway. I stepped through the doorway, and I was like, and I woke up, I was like, okay, well, what's that? Who are you? And, she reached out to me, and she was trying to tell me that her name was Kiara, and we talked a little bit, and I was like, what is this, right? So I continued to talk to her for a little bit, but ultimately I didn't know I didn't know what was happening, right? Because there's a difference between believing that telepathy exists, but also dealing with voices in your head because you feel kind of schizophrenic. But I don't think schizophrenia is what they say it is. I think it's people tuned into a different level of consciousness and reality that other people can't tune into. That is not to say go and become schizophrenic, but trust yourself more that you're not crazy. It's just normal. And I think the biggest lie, we lost James. All right, we'll see how that goes. But I believe that like the biggest lie we've ever been told, all of us, is that our reality is 100% normal and nothing unusual happens ever. Right? Like that is the biggest lie that they ever get us to believe, because then you're in this vibration of not expecting anything to come, not expecting anything good, believing in the illusion, believing in your just sort of normalness. You know, believing you're a monkey hurtling on Earth, hurtling through space, right? I think we're still online. I'm missing James. This is weird. Anyway, so
Yeah,
hey James, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're still here? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm just turn on, so I'm just playing around with it. Just keep talking, Luke. Or
all right. All right. I hope I'm doing a good job. I'm just vamping here a little bit, trying to help you out. But yeah, so basically this is just how my awakening started. I encourage all of you to be very aware of your dreams, dream journal, you know, make sure you try and catch those dreams as you're waking up, because if you don't catch their energy while you're still waking up, while your soul's returning to your body, you'll lose it. And if you don't write it down, you'll lose it. So I don't know, it's just good practice. Hey James, can you go to the next slide for me? Great. So this was that interaction I was talking about with that skilled astral projectioner, and just sort of my interaction of like, is this the mark of Orion? So here's what she says. She was talking to that one guy who had, so I was hoping that we can get this link out to James so that you guys can discover some of these links too, because I do have some of these linked throughout the presentation. But yeah, here's what she said about the mark of Orion. They expect you to produce something interesting to them. They're watchers. I talked to them a bit. They wear suits. So I think these are the grays that are abducting people. It is the mark is of people of high intellect or ability of something to watch, just to see what they do. So, you know, my interpretation from that is that, you know, they mark people to catch them later and put them into the programs. You know, that's definitely my interpretation of Mark, but that's not necessarily what she was saying at the time. But it was also 2 years ago, and I have a lot more context now. So if you could head on to the next slide, that'd be great. So another thing that happened in 2021 is that I got on these threads, and they were making the claim that there was a Lyran scout ship getting pretty close to Earth. Their claim was that the Anumura, I believe it, the Anumura object. So there was a rock. What they told us was an asteroid that, so normally in a plane, so the solar system exists on a plane, a flat plane, right? And everything circles around that just because of how gravity works. So the Anumura object actually bisected the plane. It went straight up and down. That's not normally how things interact with it. It's either to the left or the right. Oh goodness. Okay. All right. I don't know what James is doing. Hey James, welcome back. So the Anumura object actually went like almost pretty much vertically and passed through our solar system. So the people in that thread were claiming that it is a Lyran scout ship that was passing by Earth to check out, you know, all the things that are happening. And so he like put up the sigil in this thread, and I looked at that sigil for like, you know, an hour. And what ended up happening is that it activated some sort of ability in me. It activated, I think, my telepathic abilities further, basically. So there's this thing that's known in the scientific community as tensor tympani. And what that is it's about the rumbling of the middle of your inner ear. So you'll hear it sometimes if you're like yawning deeply. You'll hear a little bit of a rumbling where it's basically closing off your ear passageways to more sound or whatever. So this sigil awakened me the ability to make that muscle interact on its own. Interesting thing, James, you had an interview with Who was it? Excuse me. It was the one guy who showed that portrait of a Lyran. I'm sorry, his name is escaping me right now. But he put up a portrait of a picture of a Lyran, and it had light codes in, I don't know if it was tattoos. But
Was it Ashton? You think?
Ashton? I don't know.
Oh, well, okay.
It was a David Lotherington. It might have
Oh,
been David.
okay. Yeah, I'll see if I can find that.
Yeah, I think it was David Lotherington. He showed a portrait someone had made of him of a Lyran, and it had light codes up and down his face. And so, this ability that it's awakened in me is I can receive those light codes in a sense. And I started to get cosmic downloads in that way. And so it's just it's kind of just REM movement in the eyes, and it's rumbling in the ears, and it's just crazy, crazy stuff. So that's another one of my awakening experiences.
This one here.
I don't know that it was this photo because it was a photo of a Lyran. I'm not picking up any light codes from that one, but that doesn't mean that there's not.
No, not this one. Okay.
No, it was like a physical picture that. Oh my, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's a light language. I had it translated. Let's see here. It says break. Oh wait, let me pull the. Oh, it's hold on, guys. We're gonna this one here. So it says sharing knowledge over breakfast is akin to dining with the gods. Line 1. Line 2. Sharing knowledge with friends brings meaning to life and expansion of thought. And line 3 was remembering friends with each other. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can also confirm that's light language. I can't read it, but there's some sort of energetic transfer that happens at a level that we can't quite understand.
Good. All right. What should we do next?
Let's see. Let's
go back to the slides, or
let's try and speed this up a little bit. I don't want to get we're further than I expected given the time. Sorry, I just got a lot to talk about. I'm a talker.
Oh, it's all good. Yeah, we love hearing about all these talks on Super Soldier Talk.
Yeah, so why don't we go back to the presentation and let's just go into some Super Soldier memories. How's that sound?
Okay, but before I do, I think I might have found this one. Was this the Lyran, or this is the Arcturian?
Yeah, I think that's an Arcturian. The Lyran was a lion, and I think it was white or silver. Yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, he had light codes tattooed on his face. I had a big energetic response to that, and it was super interesting. I don't remember if I got anything specific out of it.
All right, then what we'll do is we'll just move on, and then if I can find it again, I'll pull it up. So that, by the way, that artwork was drawn by Christy Campbell. So she's in here to chat. Thank you, Christy.
Wonderful.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the screen again. Here we go. All right.
Yeah, so let's just skip forward a little bit.
Okay.
Because those were just that was the more important stuff as far as the awakening goes. Was this weird sigil, talking to the astral projectioner. Basically, long story short is I started talking to Kimberly on a more regular basis. My first time I ever saw Super Soldier Talk was with Daryl. I use Hemi Sync. There's a link for Hemi Sync tapes in here. If you guys want to get those, I think they're worth it. It's all about syncing the left and the right hemispheres. Great for meditation. That's kind of the long and short of it. But one of the more interesting things here is that in talking to Kimberly, she was like, "Oh, you spent some time with Johann Fritz," and I was like, "What?" And so then I ended up talking to Johann, and he too confirmed that we spent some time together on the Franklin. Which was super interesting.
All right. Do you want to go to this HemiSync?
No, that's a resource for later.
Okay.
I don't know what we're gonna do. Oh, so this is a little bit of stuff on my twin flame. I just some of the confirmations that were given to me. I asked in a Q&A, and that is the photo of the Q&A, and they're like, yeah, you do have a twin flame. As far as like that goes, that stuff is interesting because it's like the twin flames, twin souls. As far as energetically, it's a connection from the Earth up to the fifth dimension and the Pleiades, and it's kind of acts as a magnet to draw the two together. So that's what the twin flames, twin souls are doing at an energetic level. The other thing interesting about that is that they just happened to lead me to Cobra's blog and the Ascension update, in which he talked about twin souls will be united. So,
oh, that's cute. Okay, so those preparing to ascend in the first wave will be living in the islands of light, which will begin to be formed shortly after the event. I guess the first contact thing. They will connect with their twin souls, many of them being on the motherships, and they will expand the horizons beyond past programming and start forming soul relationships. Okay, but that's from Cobra, right?
Yes, that's from Cobra. In his estimation, the event would be like the mass arrest of the cabal and like the ground operations to clean everybody up.
Certainly, and we have, like I said, I think there's 2 or 3 people come on here that said that we're gonna have a first contact event sometime March or April, but I guess we'll find out in May whether it happened.
Yeah, we'll find out. Right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I am led to say is that one of the backup plans, if nothing else goes to plan, one of the like last backup plans is simply solar flashing the star seeds and just having them free themselves. So hopefully we can do something a little bit more.
So we would still exist here on planet Earth, but we go to like the 5th dimension where.
So it would be like full activations of star seeds, like unlocking your past life memories, unlocking all of your abilities, and just having them, clean house themselves. Just imagine someone who's integrated all their altars, has all their powers, none of the conditioning, none of the blocks, and just and has a vendetta against those who hurt them. Like that's the like last plan.
Oh wow!
From what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the link to that Q&A.
This is from Hakan. So who is Hakan?
He's one of the Pleiadian commanders in the Pleiadian fleet around Earth. I'm sure Hakan's still around, but from as far as Cobra said, the Aldebarans were stepping forward and the Pleiadians were stepping back.
Oh wow, okay. So is Hakan? You said he's on the same spaceship as Hatan?
I think they work together in some capacity. I think he's at a lower level than Hatan was my understanding. Right. This is one of those sites where they gather a lot of channelings, and Hakan is one of the people who started being channeled there.
Nice. Okay, everybody, activate your speed reading abilities, and we're gonna just go through this real quick. Everybody. There we go.
Yeah, sorry. That's just
send you the link. Okay.
I'm just citing sources. And this is the Cobra blog Ascension plan update. Right. So we're just so here, can you go back up for a second real
Which
quick?
One? Right here?
One more, that one right there. So this is where he was saying that the solar cycle was going to peak in 2025. Right. So you see how high those graphs have gone. This update was in 2022, and we're now headed into 2024. I think we're beating that curve a little bit. Is my understanding.
We barely just begun. Oh wait, we're over here.
Yeah, so you see where that peak is. The peak is somewhere around 2025, right? So their best fill graph is a little bit sooner, and so I had looked that up, and I think the best fill graph is even further into the future. So it could peak 2024, it could peak 2025. It'll be a wild ride either way.
All right. Early research of Alexander Tujetsky has shown that 60% of all social unrest happens within a year and a half of each solar maximum.
Yep.
All right. We got prophecies yet. All right, guys. We'll post that link and you can check that out. Let's Shall we move on? Oh wait.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about who Kiera is?
Right. So that's the name of my twin flame. Right. So this was just sort of some of the proofs I got, and just sort of sources to cite as far as that connection goes.
All right. So are there anything else you want to say about her, or we move on?
Let's move on. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, that connection is a little private, you know.
Right.
So I ended up getting a QHHT session, which was a lot of fun. And so I wanted to go through some of the memories here, as far as just like the actual memories that I got out of that. And so this also happened in March of 23. And I haven't really talked about it to too many people in real life, just because like they're just not on that wavelength. One of the interesting details, the reason why I have the picture of the FN-2000, is that I'm pretty sure that's one of the guns I was holding in this first vision here, was an FN-2000, and that's pretty interesting because New Skin came on your show a month or two ago, and he was saying that he used an FN-2000 in NWR.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty neat to share. For this vision, it was like I was like walking down a hallway. Actually, so it started in a locker room, right? So it was like a locker room that you'd see, like it was higher tech basically, but it essentially looked like a locker room. I was like holding the helmet. I put the helmet on. Went out into the hallways, looked a little bit like Star Wars, just like big white hallways. I don't know if that was like an overlay or it's hard to know what exactly of all these stubs is like overlay, what is real. But it felt about right. So in this encounter, what ended up happening was we were under attack. Red light started flashing and we went into red alert and, all that sort of good stuff. Ended up at a hole in the ship. And that was actually pretty neat. So the end of the vision pretty much was just like me standing on a hole in the ship, and I'm just watching just like battle cruisers pass in the night, like slugging it out and seeing like fighters, chase each other over top of the ship and whatnot. I don't know exactly what I was doing there, because I was like geared up for ground combat. We had this big hole in the ship, and I needed to I think assess it for damage, make sure no one was getting in there or whatever, secure the area kind of deal. But it was pretty neat. And basically like the session practitioner, she was like, why did Luke need to see this? And I answered as my higher self, and he was basically like, because he needs to accept this stuff as a part of himself, just because it's so far outside of the normal purview of life, that they were showing me these visions and memories of just to get me to accept it, because it's a big leap from just normal mundane life to, oh, you were a super soldier, you got tested in, you got tested as a little kid and you got abducted for 20 years and you got put back on Earth. It's a big leap, right? So it's hard to get your logical mind to accept that from your just from the truth of the matter. So that was a pretty interesting memory. I thought it was a part of the Alliance at this point. I told them that we were fighting over Earth. Oh, right. So the sort of like some of these visions start with little nuggets. So some of like the little nugget for this one was just like me sitting in a locker room looking at a helmet. And one of the other events that happened, this was December, it was Christmas, I think it was 2022, Christmas of 2022, I like early in the morning, this is probably 3 a.m., I just awoke to the sound of an explosion, just the sound of a huge explosion, and I was just like, what the, I was just like, what is happening, right? So you just like get shocked out of bed of what is going on. And so then my higher self was like, well, so this actually happened and it's related to you waking up in the night on Christmas, basically. So somehow this vision, the fight above Earth, and just sort of that explosion that I heard that morning are all related temporally. So I don't know if we had a big space battle on Christmas, but that's what, we're trying to say. This would be Christmas of 2022.
Thank you for sharing that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, good. Okay,
sorry.
Good.
Do you want to add any more comments or context
Well,
on it?
sure. I'll show you. Oh gosh, hold on, guys.
Sure, take your time, James.
Let's go over here because I have a lot of windows open. Where are we over here? I'm gonna show this. These are some of the weapons that I remember. This is my PowerPoint presentation. So we have this was on a mission I did on Mars. So I had the sniper. I was Sabretooth, the sniper. But Dreadnought, Adam, he had the MP5, and Bloodstreak, Alex Diaz. So he had the SK56, and we also had 9mm. So yeah, but I think our weapons are like laser or phaser enhanced. So anyway. All right. Well, unless you have anything to say,
yeah.
Well, okay. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for that context. Yeah, we can totally move on to the next memory I had then.
Okay, hold on, guys. Let's see here. Let's get this out. Let's go back. We are one of these.
Yeah, like it's funny the things.
I'll find it. Keep talking.
Yeah, so it's funny the things that like bleed over, right? Because it's like, you just end up sort of obsessed with like aircraft signatures and like guns and like, bullpups versus normal rifles, because the FN 2000 bullpup. I really like bullpups. I think my alters like bullpups. It's funny those little things that just sort of come out that express themselves in the in your waking life. So let's move on to the next slide then, if you could, please.
Yes, no problem.
Sure.
All right. Second vision, Mars Defense Force Lunar Base Supply Run.
Yeah. So then the next vision I was dropped into, I was in this like, it looked a little bit like the bridge of a Star Destroyer. But the only reason I say that is because like I was up above and people were down below in like the trough. Like there was like a trough to my right, and there was a big view screen that was showing us what we were looking at up front. And I was sitting at the captain's chair, just like driving this thing. What I got out of that was I think I was in the MDF here. I was in the Mars Defense Force, and we were doing a supply run to get from Mars to the LOC back to Mars to continue, supplying the people who were fighting there. Some of the other details I saw here is like I moved forward and I saw the cities that are on the back of the moon. It was really interesting because I saw like tall spires and they were blocking out the stars behind them, and they had those red aircraft lights on top of them. So that was pretty interesting. I ended up seeing I think that was an integrated fleet, not an integrated fleet, but like there were reptilian attaches on that one. I think there were a few grays there. We eventually docked on the LOC, and we were like onboarding and offloading crates. I just saw like a big red or a big brown reptilian just like picking up crates and like putting them in. That one was pretty short, and so those are the big details that I remember there.
Wow. So blue dress and gold fringe, that's the colors of Solar Warden.
Yeah, so it might have been MDF, it might have been Solar Warden. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, I thought it was like a well-woven, to me it felt like a very well-woven, almost like a dress blues kind of deal, but probably a little bit more functional.
Where was your suit skin tight?
Not quite.
Okay, because they were skin tight at one point and it didn't leave anything to hide, so they changed that later on.
Yeah, I remember it being like you could pull it off. It was basically really well tailored, like well woven cotton. Was my understanding. It could be wrong. There's so many different factions, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. So the interesting part for this one is that the kernel that this one started with in early 2021, I think this was September of 2021, I saw this mantid being where, like, you know how when you're sleeping, well, so at least for me, when you're sleeping, sometimes you can see like blue clouds like going all about, just like coming in and out. So that's what it looks like for me. So then in the morning there, these blue clouds coalesced into a mantis head. I'm like, what? Like these crazy things just like happen to you. You see this mantis head and it's like early in the morning and you're just living a normal life. And then the mantis head just like retreated into the darkness. And I was like, that was weird. Right. So then in the QHHT meditation, this then turned into this whole like storyline. So I was swatting bugs on Mars, right? So they dropped me on Mars. I'm like infiltrating this mantis hut, chasing him down, getting him back. They ended up torturing this dude for pretty bad. So much so that like it's weird because I felt bad for him in my altar, so like that's how bad it was. I remember I had a few visions of like me like sharing rations with this guy. I think we worked with him for a while. Ultimately said that this is one of the events that just sort of like led me to switch sides towards the Alliance. I asked Kimberly about this whole interaction. This is the after H is her info. She said we ended up working together. I called him boss, and eventually he ended up in the reptilian supermax. I think it's out by Jupiter. He ended up there in the supermax, and the Alliance tried to get him out. We failed. I think I had a few dreams about that because I had a few dreams where it was like moving and covering and firing down the hallway and a bunch of cell blocks. But ultimately, the Alliance failed to get him out of the supermax, and they ended up killing him. So it's unfortunate. We can't win them all, but that's what happens sometimes. I think that's about most of the stuff I had prepared. I think there's a little bit more, but I think given the time goal we had set, and you're looking pretty tired, James, I don't want to keep you too long.
Did the creature look like this, the antid, or was it more mantis?
I thought it was more mantid, bigger eyes. I thought that the eyes took up a larger portion of its head. More like a traditional praying mantis.
Okay, let's see. Let's go back.
Yeah, something more like that one.
Like this one?
Like that one. Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember it having the little nodules, whatever they're called.
And so why did you drop into the hole? Okay, were you sent there to capture it?
Yeah, so we were swatting bugs there. We ended up, they wanted this one mantid. I think he knew more than your average mantid. He was organizing a resistance amongst other mantids to just like the Dark Fleet bug swatting activities, or he knew more genetics, or maybe both. Like they sent me down to get that guy and pull him out, but then he ended up in the like conscripted into the Dark Fleet for a significant amount of time.
Interesting. Wow. Yeah. Okay. And so, do you remember any specifics on the torture? Like,
I remember it going longer than the others, because I think it was a witness to some of this torture and some of the information extraction. I probably participated in some, right? But I think it was the duration and the extreme lengths that they went to get the information out of this guy that really kind of bothered me.
Wow. Okay. And do you remember any specific conversations you might have had, or like its intentions or purpose, or?
I didn't get any specific interactions we had. I only had brief memories of him, of just like a few, just like of the intake. I had a memory of the torture. I had a memory of like sharing food a little bit. I remember in the sharing of food, he was like really surprised that someone was going to actually share with him in the Dark Fleet, and then and I remember being absolutely terrified that they were gonna find out whether they knew or not, or they like let it happen. Who actually knows? But I do remember. But I do think we ended up working together for a little bit. Because he had some projects he had some projects that they wanted for him to get done, and I became kind of his right hand man for a little bit. But I think they caught him and released him for a little bit, and then they picked him back up again, and then they sent him to the Supermax, and it was just like, man, they're not to be trifled with,
Oh wow. Do you remember what the Supermaxes were like?
I had a dream in which I believed I was fighting down one, because it was long hallways, and we were ducking, covering, firing, and we were trying to fight our way into this Supermax facility, but I don't remember a ton there. It ultimately was a problem. Oh, here's one of the little things I wanted to get out. So EA made Mirror's Edge, right? They're a publisher in video games.
Electronic Arts,
sorry. They made Mirror's Edge, which is well known in the community for being a soft disclosure kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure Titanfall is also a soft disclosure kind of thing. It didn't sell well. They made a few of them. I loved it. So on the right there is a Titan, which might be reminiscent of some of the mechs that some of the SSP people fight in. On the left there is the parkour, right? So
dams.
Yeah, Johan talks a lot about just the parkour style that they get you to do, and within that video game, it's all just parkour and jumping off walls and stuff, and also shooting at the same time. I also had a dream that was reminiscent of this. So I got a report from Kimberly as far as the she told me I had arachnid DNA. Right. And then I go and have this dream where I've got one hand on the wall behind me. I'm hanging off a wall. I'm crouching, and I'm pushing the gun on my right shoulder, and I'm shooting at people. Right. So I'm basically like Spider-Man with a gun out there, and having, shoot. I forget why or what had happened there that we were doing that. But, anyway, I just thought this was a fun little tidbit to share as far as just soft disclosure. Yeah, so here's a list of the alters that Will and Jody got me. It's just a big data dump. The most interesting one is that Warren or Thule guy, because he's the one who had some overlap with Will and Jody. Will and Jody, but it definitely had overlap with Will.
So he worked for Kruger in 2014 to 2019.
Yep.
Dark Shield.
So Dark Shield is the Antarctica base.
I think so. I've been talking to Kimberly about that. It's Black Shield. We keep I know because the last time I talked to her, she got mixed up. So it's called Black Shield. But I write about it in my book if you want to learn more about it.
Yeah.
So
I think your book is the one I haven't read yet. Because I read Tony's. Oh, and Nacht Waffen. From his book, he was saying Nacht Waffen the reason why they call it Nacht Waffen. So Nacht means night, right? And so then the phrase became Unter der Nacht, into the night, and so that's where they get the Nacht Waffen from.
So isn't it night weapons?
Yeah. So Nacht is night. Waffen is weapon. The reason why it's Waffen is because night is masculine. Took a little bit of German. But they also have something similar for Luftwaffe, where Luftwaffe is air weapon, so then Nacht Waffen, night weapon, and the phrase into the night is where the Nacht Waffen comes from.
Yeah. Wasn't it Daryl James who had that memory too? You got that memory? Did you know that?
Which memory?
The into the night thing. They would all say something before they would set sail not really sail, but go off. Picard would say engage, but they
they probably said into the night.
Okay, all right. By the way, the Enterprise is real. We had a show of Jimmy Payne. He said he was on it. They were the movie, the fourth movie where they were rescuing the whales. It was actually the Loch Ness monster. So, well, not really monster, but she was pregnant. Anyway, it's a long story. Okay, let's go. USS. Okay, the Ramstein.
So he, so I think he spent a year in Dark Shield, went to the
Black Shield.
Black Shield, sorry. Then was transferred for the Rammstein for another year. He had like 23 combat missions fighting everyone under the sun. I don't have a lot of specific memories for him that I can specifically attribute to Warner Thule, except for the one that specifically had Johann in it, because eventually, because of the Black Goose schism within the Dark Fleet, his lieutenant colonel got the squad transferred to the Franklin. And he was the staff sergeant under Johann Fritz. Their squad had like I think it was a tiger patch for their squad insignia.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Memory recall.
This was actually, so all of this is from Will and Jody. I don't have a ton of specific recall as far as like these guys go. So this is coming from them, their information, and just sort of the whole laundry list of alters, because you just get so many of these guys who are working in so many different programs.
So the Black Goo schism. So what happened? The officers would be asked to consume Black Goo to increase their intelligence, but it removed their connection to God's source or heart source, I suppose. So do you know anything about the schism? You want to explain?
Do I know anything about a schism?
Yeah.
Well, I know
what happened. Yeah.
I know it happened, and so there were a cadre of officers who just decided, no, we're not taking that shit. I'm not sure if Warner Thule was my only Nacht Waffen alter, because I talked to Kimberly a little bit, and like I do think they were trying to get me into OCS, the officer candidate school, and so I think I have an alter who actually ended up taking the Black Goo. That hasn't affected me on a soul level from what I understand yet, but I was like, oh, that's not good. Like you don't want to do that, because like the source consciousness is where all your abilities come from. It's like you might increase your IQ, but it's like your psychic potential is like probably way down.
Yeah. Interesting. So the thing is that these extraterrestrials, like these reptilians, their IQ would be equivalent to maybe 900, where the average human is 100, by the way. So so we are like considered dummies, and they can totally play us. Certain Anunnaki can play us. So it's pretty dangerous. They looked on us like we're like ants. So
yeah, but that's 2-strand humans, okay. So like 2-strand humans are going to be way different from 12-strand human DNA, right? So 95-ish% of our genome is locked behind what they call junk DNA. It's not really junk, it's just not activated, right? So right now we're on the double helix strand. Certain star seeds, like probably you or I, probably might even have a tri-helix. Just from naturally the amount of energy we can carry. And the whole process of the solar flash is like getting more and more of those helixes to come back online. So like they might look down on a 2-strand human, but like when we hit our full potential as a 12-strand DNA, or like some people think it goes up to 16 or 144,000 or whatever, who knows, but as we get further, as we unlock more and more of our latent DNA, they won't be laughing so much anymore.
So we're going to be the Draco's worst enemy.
I can't wait.
Or best friends. But I have some intel about what happens in the future. But if I tell you what happens, you won't enjoy the show as much. So let's go.
We're going on a crusade, James. That's the feeling I get.
Okay. All right. Lots of work to do in the future. So
yep.
We have Michael Switzen.
Yeah, so Michael Switzen worked a lot of Black Book pound side programs. Like these are where some of my nightmares come from. Clone retrieval and removal, termination, just sort of a lot of. He's a true Cabal asset through and through. He's owned by Monarch. I think Monarch actually like has the rights to my alters, so they're the one who other people have to go to in order to get permission to use me for that kind of stuff. But he's a bad man.
Well, I have a Monarch memory, but I was a child in an orphanage, and they were experimenting on us. So mostly the memory was just focused on throwing up all day.
Do you have any memories? I've got this one kernel of a hunting lodge with white walls, big pictures. spent a lot of time, like apparently Shaw House used me a lot, but I don't have a lot of memories as far as they go.
Was it like considered like in Europe, a hunting lodge in Europe, like a castle?
It might have been. It felt like high level cabal kind of stuff.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't have a lot more than
Where
that.
was it like most dangerous game kind of scenarios?
It might have been. It might have been some of that. I participated in quite a few of those. Just getting hunted. One of my oldest dreams that I can remember actually was they threw us to a bunch of raptors, and I was just running for my life away from raptors. And I think that's how they awoke. And like I can teleport, I think is one of my abilities. With being able to get it anyway. So like I ended up just like teleporting from here to there. Like to me, it looked like opening a door, stepping through a door and appearing somewhere else. And I was just like doing anything I could to get away from these raptors. Kimberly told me that was happening in Inner Earth and was one of those most dangerous game kind of things.
Oh, wow. Let's go on here. We got Herman Hahn.
Yeah, so this guy's in Umbrella, Project Titan. A lot of this stuff, both Titan and Gorgon are both all about combining DNA of extraterrestrial entities with humans. Johan told me that the Cali zombie outbreak it might have been like 2018 or so. There are a few videos circulating around the internet of like really nasty looking humans, and people are like, these are zombies, So apparently Herman Hahn was associated with that project. And he ended up having to chase down some of those people who got out. Most of these experiments failed, both Titan and Gorgon. So here we have 1,000 candidates. Like that, they started with 1,000 candidates. 900 died. 100 passed. They're terrible ordeal. And he was telling me that 80 were too damaged to function. I think this was combining humans with like high level Draco DNA, maybe even like Queen level DNA, and really it didn't go well. And Herman Hahn's like on call if like either they get rowdy or they get out, or they're causing trouble to just like nuke them.
Oh wow, let's go on here. All right,
yeah.
Lucas.
Yeah, so here's the namesake. So this guy, I actually have quite a few dreams of him. So the interesting thing about Lucas Creighton, so Luke is my name in real life, right? So, but Lucas, it's funny how these things bleed into each other, right? Because every time I introduce myself as Luke, they'd always be like, is it short for Lucas? And I never got it. And and now I think I know, it's like, apparently it is short for Lucas in a sense, but he was in LOC pool to ICC. He spent quite a few years with this ambassador Greenlow. So I have a lot of memories memories, dreams, guarding royalty, basically. I think I did that in a past life, whether or not, and so they continue to use me as that. I fought in the Orion Wars and all that good stuff. But one of my main jobs was guarding royalty. And so with that, they're like, just throw them onto that, so I have quite a few memories of like guarding princesses, and I think either it is overlay for this ambassador Greenlow. This ambassador Greenlow ended up getting, so we had 100 successful negotiations is what Will told me. Ended our tour on the Guinevere. We were eventually transferred to the USS Urian. But then eventually this ambassador Greenlow just got murked by reptilians. I think I recall that one. One of the weird little kernels I got. I was reading Tony's book, and he was just like, yeah, and some of the spaceships had carpeted floors, and then all of a sudden, like I'm into this vision of just like carpeted floors, following this woman who's in this just like royal ball gown, and I'm like all kitted out. And then like reptilians like blow open the corridor to my far right. We just like all hell breaks loose, and that's where the vision ends. Right. So like you just get these like little things. That's why I listen to your show so often, is like I'm trying to catch these like little, like trying to catch it in the wind, just trying to spark something here or there that I can get more memories back,
Oh wow. All right, let's go on here. So we have Julian Timmerman.
Yeah, so Julian Timmerman's pretty boring. He ended up on some backwater gate, some backwater planet doing weapons testing. I don't have any memories of him. And Will also told me that, that they just threw the me out there as a slave asset. Apparently, I was a slave to this Axel A. Weber of the EU Trilateral Commission, eventually sold to the Draco in 2018, and then eventually sold to the Matra Greys. So it's like, even just being a super soldier, even if you have all your abilities, they'll still sell you as a slave, as a part to just be, to mess you up.
Wow. Okay. Next one.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the end of our Will and Jody information I got from them. The next slide there. Yeah, is that. So I just wanted to throw out a list of more of the stuff. We've talked about most of this stuff in general as far as all that goes. One of the things I did want to call out and just put out into the community is that, like, I think I'm somehow related to Orion's Queen's Guard. I was reading something related to that, and like I was getting just like absolute chills all over my body, and like they were trying to tell me that that was like what I was doing at some other time, some other place. If anyone knows anything about Orion's Queen's Guard, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. Other than that, our last slide is just the list of all the programs that Kimberly was tying me to. If we can move on to the next slide. So this was in order of just all the programs that I've been lent out to. Apparently Shaw House is one of the top ones. I work a lot in the ICC, MDF, CIA, just like laundry list of just sort of different things. I actually did have a lot of interesting about the IDF when things started to pop off in the beginning of October. I had a ton, like I was just having the worst time. I couldn't sleep. I was waking up absolutely exhausted. I was having all sorts of dreams of nothing good, just like shooting, fighting, killing, having a bad time. So like a lot of these terrestrial intelligence agencies do use some of the SSP assets.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you remember what your connection was to Shaw House?
Unfortunately, I do not. They are pretty shrouded in mystery to me, despite them being so high up on the list. I have a feeling that it might be related to some of the slave activities. It energetically, it feels a lot like what's that one show? There's a show on Amazon called Peripheral. And I think Shaw House is somehow related to that because they were talking about just like timeline branches and using people in timeline branches. Like energetically, they feel similar to that. But like as far as like actually knowing things about Shaw House, unfortunately, I don't have a ton.
All right. So, okay. DARPA, Defense Agency Research, Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. So that one is the bottom of the rung of the SSP groups. It's DARPA for the DoD, but they have the least advanced of all the technologies. So anyway, let's see here. There we go. Some questions.
Yeah, so that's what we had.
From a Facebook user, does your story mean you've got no choice to serve in the Dark Fleet? Are they still around and as strong as we've heard from SSP super soldiers?
Yeah, so they're definitely still around. Like Dark Fleet is not going away anytime soon. You'd have to fight them all back. Like the schism, from what Johan was saying, they only got about 20% of the Dark Fleet assets that then rolled into the Alliance. I have a feeling that, like, from what I understand, they wrested control of Earth away from the Dark Fleet. And the Dark Fleet then just went on to their other assets, and they're going to continue to stay out there until we can actually beat them. Because like you've said in your own videos that eventually we're going to head all the way down to Thuban, in the future, because like that's what's going to have to happen in order to beat Dark Fleet, because they will not go quietly into that Dark Night.
Right. Well, there is a Draco embedded onto each one of these Nacht Waffen ships. So I think that's part of the schism. I guess they probably airlocked their Draco when it happened. I mean, I guess we can laugh. I mean, it's not. I mean, I guess it is.
It's not funny. It's funny in a certain perspective, I'm sure.
But I mean, maybe there's some Draco watching this, and we want to, understand that perhaps.
Well, there are good reptilians.
Each other peacefully, yeah. But let's see here. So, I looked this. I looked it up in my book. So I did have IDARF written here. It's the Interplanetary Defense and Reaction Forces.
Oh yeah.
So this was from Jason Rice. In 1981, the Cabal and Mars Germans signed a cooperative action treaty allowing the Cabal to take over the 20-acre moon base in the Draco territory. They also created IDARF, which stands for, of course, I just said that. IDARF Regiment was told they would be helping save the indigenous populations from alien aggressors. But just like in Nacht Waffen, they would create the problem, then they would bring another team in, show up and say, hey, we have this solution. We can help save you. But anyway, so in the 2000s, the Cabal got their own SSP fleet called IDARF with help from the Draco. They began taking over other worlds, and many of them were occupied with humans, installing loyal Cabal families, central banks, and fiat monetary systems to control the masses. According to Johann Fritz, in 2018, there was a schism with Dark Fleet. The Draco, infected with black goo, had begun requiring... Okay, we already said all this. Black goo. All right, we'll just skip all that.
Yeah, so that's about what I had as far as the presentation goes and all the things I wanted to get to. We can ask some more questions. I can talk about more stuff. But yeah, I got to a lot of the extra stuff I wanted to talk about.
All right, let's see here. We do have a few more. Let's see here. Do you remember a guy named Emmerman?
Do I remember an Emmerman? Not consciously at this point. One of the nice things about these sort of interactions is that, like, I'll get dreams later, so James is going to drop my email in the bio. So, like, feel free to reach out. I don't have, like, as far as recall goes, some of these guys have such impressive recall, and I've got maybe like 1%, just all the things. You know how it is. You always want more and more and more. But even so, like, part of it is that you don't, right? So I've been trying in meditation, I've been trying to get through some of these memories and some of these just like emotional blocks that I've been having, right? Because it's just like it exists out there. I read something off of your website a while ago. It was talking about the effects of the cough, you know what? And they were saying that your altars, like one of the diagrams they had in that document was like your altars exist off to your left in your auric field. Like you have a guardian angel behind you, your higher self above you, and your altars exist in a matrix off to your left. So I've been going off into my left, trying to like pull some of the emotions out of there so that I can clear out some of those emotions. And man, like, it's not fun because you just like, I'm just like lying there in meditation and you feel so sick, you want to throw up, right? Because the question earlier was like, do you have any choice as far as like serving the Dark Fleet goes? And the answer is no, because like they will, they've already broken you as a child. Like they already got to you. It's too late. And even if you wanted to rebel, like informationers can literally just like, like make you do a thing. Like I was talking to Johan and he was saying that like what I asked him about the information or stuff. I was like, what's that like? And he was saying that like what he would see was kind of like a punch card or even a playing card. And he'd like force that down into their head and they just have to do it. Because like, and this does happen with like higher level Draco can just like straight up overtake somebody and make them do things. Right. So it's kind of training that ability, which is just like, at a certain level, you just don't have control over that sort of stuff,
Oh, wow. Thank you. Okay. All right. So are the Dark Fleet Germans, well, let me rephrase this, Andromeda. Are the Germans, did the Germans go back in time to create Dark Fleet?
As far as I know, as far as I understand, I don't have any specific knowledge as far as that goes. I know that you've talked a little bit about like the Germans going back in 1840s and based on the moon and stuff. I don't have any specific knowledge as far as that goes.
Yeah, well, it would have been 5,000 years ago because that's when Dark Fleet originated. But it's a good question. I think they did. So
the answer is probably yes.
Did you know John Whitberg?
Did I know John Whitberg? So I love John Whitberg's testimony. I don't know that I've ever seen him out there. I've never had a dream with John. So like it's entirely possible that we met out there. I cannot personally attest to having met John Whitberg or his other friend. I don't think I've seen any of those. So the people I've seen in dreams are you, James. I've seen Daryl James in my dreams. I've seen Johan in my. Oh, I should talk about the Johan dream. So my dream with Johan was super interesting. It was all overlaid to shit, right? But what I remember is like we were in this. All right, so here's the dream, and then I'll tell you what Kimberly told me. So the dream was we were like neighbors in a townhouse, and at one point I pick up this like hand, and it's just like skeleton, and I just like wave it at him a little bit, and then I throw it in the trash. And I'm pretty sure like what that was is I talked to Kimberly a little bit about this. It was just like I think we went in on a mission. I got my hand cut off. They took me back up, fixed me up, brought me back down. Later in the mission, I'm just like picking up the hand. I'm like, look at me, it's like, because you got a sixth sense of humor at a certain point. But so like it's just like interesting how like all these things manifest. But right. So do I know John Whitberg? I don't know, man. There's so much I don't know about my own self,
Well, here's another question. Did you serve with James Rink?
Yeah. I think we did serve together, at least in the no-see timeline up in Alaska. Other than that, I haven't had any other specific memories of you. This energetic interaction might unlock some stuff, which is part of why I wanted to get on here to talk to you a little bit about that. Because after I talk to people, sometimes then I have more dreams, more recall. It's all part of the process.
Great. Okay. Well, what we'll do is we'll bring you back on here again and get some more recalls. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Lucas, for taking some time out from your busy schedule to do this.
Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to meet with me, James. It was such a pleasure to talk to you. You're so important to the community. Thank you for everything you do. It's great.
Absolutely. It's important to give a voice to this message because this affects everybody. And you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. So that's why we're here. We're here to learn and try to come up with solutions together.
Absolutely.
All right, let's call it a day here, everybody. If you want to learn more about the work I do, you can go to supersoldiertalk.com. I've got lots of articles in there. I also go subscribe to my Rumble channel. The full archive is there, including all the. I think it was probably 2 or maybe even 3 years of content, including Johan Fritz's interview got purged from YouTube. So I recommend you go over to Rumble to watch that content. And also, if you feel so inclined, I would really go to my website, Neological Tech, and purchase a book. My book, Lone Wolf, goes into some, the different planetary corporations, some of my own experiences. The Black Shield, I got a whole chapter on Black Shield where we had all these like chimeras, I forget how you say that word, but
Chimeras is fine.
Chimeras, yeah, and these tubes, but they were like giant, like 18-foot tall humanoid hybrids that they would send off world. So, and I was in a body like that. They combined spider DNA with dolphin DNA, and
yeah, all sorts of bad stuff.
Whatever, but yeah. So and then they were anyway. They were like even in Project Ibis, I was in a cage with a spider. They were anyway.
Yeah.
But so yeah, and also get yourself a meditation cube to help you relax. So and bring more chi energy into your body. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. We'll see you all later. Any final messages, Luke?
Nope. Thank you, James.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Please consider supporting Super Soldier Talk by purchasing your own Neo Meditation device. Your Neo Meditation device will help you reduce stress, integrate trauma, enhance intuition, enhance clairvoyance, and enhance creativity. Get yours now at www.neologicaltech.com.